Donald, nice to have you join us.
Thank you, Greta.
All right, Donald, you're stirring up so much trouble. Every time I turn on the TV, whether it's on The View or other places, you are demanding a birth certificate from the president. Why aren't you satisfied that he has been born here in the United States?
Well, the fact is, they ask me the question, and I say, I want to see his birth certificate. It's very simple. Somebody asked me today, could I see your birth certificate? I had it in my hands in less than an hour. You have a birth certificate. People that are born in this country have birth certificates. So I wanted to see his birth certificate. I mentioned that on The View. And Whoopi, who I like very much, who's a friend of mine, I did a movie cameo for her, as a matter of fact. But Whoopi said, oh, but if that were a white man, you wouldn't be asking that question. I said, what does this have to do with race? Has absolutely nothing to do with race. The fact is that if you look at what's happened with respect to this birth certificate issue, he doesn't have it. He spent millions of dollars on lawyers trying to get out of the issue. They give what's called a certificate of live birth, which doesn't even have a signature on it, and anybody can get a certificate of live birth. It's nothing to do with a birth certificate, and they are really reeling. Now, they talk all sorts of things. You don't have a doctor or a nurse. Here's the President of the United States, and no doctor, no nurse, nobody's come forward saying, I delivered that beautiful baby. There's so many things. Even if you look at the newspaper, the so-called newspaper article in Hawaii, that was days after he was born. So that wasn't like when he was born. And if you really think about a couple of things, whoever took a newspaper advertisement, and these were poor people, these aren't rich people, whoever took a newspaper advertisement to announce the birth of your baby. Now, I don't think you know of anybody, and I know of nobody, and I know poor people and rich people, but I've never heard of taking a newspaper ad to advertise that you have a baby. So that's one. And then you have this beautiful governor, a Democratic governor, that says 50 years ago, he remembers, okay, he remembers when Obama was born. I'll bet he didn't even know the parents 50 years ago. I think it's absolutely insane. What he's doing is taking a bullet for the party by making a statement that I remember. So I've been into this issue for a couple of weeks, and I'm starting to get very concerned. The fact is, if you're not born in this country, you cannot run for president. If Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to run for president, he's a friend of mine, he's a good man. If he wanted to run for president, he can't because he wasn't born in this country.
Here's my thought on it. First of all, I don't know about the article, whether you had to pay for the article or not. As for the birth certificate, frankly, although I'm not running for president, I haven't seen mine in years. I have a passport, and the president has a passport. Having traveled at one time, I had to surrender a birth certificate. And so I suspect the time when he got his passport, he had to provide a valid birth certificate. And the other thing, too, is that this is the most incredible. This doesn't hurt the Democratic Party. This is how they're raising funds. They're using all this controversy to say, oh, look, please send money because the Republicans are going after him about his birth certificate. So this is a great fundraising device for the president.
I don't think it is at all, Greta. I disagree with you 100%. I see what's going on over the Internet. I see the questions being asked. People have never, you have to understand, it's a terrible term, the word birther. You know what a birther is? All a birther is a person that wants, and these are great Americans in many cases, in most cases, they just want to see that the president was born in this country. They want to see that the president actually has a birth certificate. And I don't think it's helping him at all. And I wish it did help him. To be honest with you, I want him to have a birth certificate because that would mean that his presidency was, I guess you'd have to say, illegal. You have to be born in the United States. I hope that he was born in the United States. I hope that he, but I want to get rid of the word hope. I want to know for sure. I hope that he was born in the United States, and I hope this doesn't become a big issue. But I will tell you, if you look at the Internet and you look at the kind of questions, this is not an issue that's popular for them. Believe me.
All right, now let's turn to your quest for the White House. You haven't said you're in, you haven't said you're out, but you haven't denied that you have some interest. Last time I spoke to you, since that last time, has your interest grown greater? Is the likelihood greater that you're going to run for president or less?
Well, I don't want to classify it as greater or less, I can tell you I have an amazing interest, a very strong interest in running. I hate what's happening to this country. I hate what OPEC is doing to us. Your oil and your gasoline are going to be costing you so much. Oil is going to go up to $150 a barrel. It's already way over 100. And by the way, oil at these levels, we cannot sustain ourselves as a great country. We can't do it because that's the blood. That's the blood of the country. We cannot sustain ourselves as a great country. OPEC is ripping us, and we have nobody to tell them what to do. China is taking all of our jobs. They're making all of our products, and then they're loaning us money, and we're paying interest to them. It cannot happen, and we could stop that very easily if we had the right people in office.
I guess it reminds me of what one of the co-chairmen of the Debt Commission said recently, is that we have a promise, a treaty to protect Taiwan from China, and we have to borrow money from China in order to do it.
Well, how about our new war that we have with Libya, with the Arab League? Now, you know what the Arab League is? That's Saudi Arabia and a couple of other of the richest nations in the world. They want us to fight. So they said, go ahead, he's an enemy, fight, 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 fight. And they said, we'll be with you. Guess what? Nobody's seen them. And we've now spent $1 billion on Libya. And why isn't Saudi Arabia paying us? They have so much money, it's coming out of their ears. So why isn't Saudi Arabia paying us for the kind of what we've done is unbelievable in a short period of time. Now, if he was going to do it, he was 2 weeks too late because it could have been over very quickly, but he waited too long. But forgetting about that, why isn't Saudi Arabia paying us? Why aren't they reimbursing us for $1 billion in costs so far? The other thing you have to ask yourself is, who are we fighting for? They talk about the rebels, but I hear on fairly good information that the rebels are closely associated with Iran, and they're closely associated with Al-Qaeda. Now, so what are we going to do? Put Iran into Libya? What are we doing this for? And we're spending $1 billion and nobody's paying us back, nobody's reimbursing us. And by the way, one final point. China is the big user of oil from Libya. So why isn't China involved? Why are we doing this? Why isn't China involved?
What is your theory as to why we picked Libya? We could have picked any of the other countries where there was turmoil: Tunisia, Yemen, Egypt, Syria. I mean, why I realize there are other reasons not to pick those countries, but why Libya?
Well, I guess they felt that Gaddafi was an easy target. He was the most unpopular. But the fact is that he's nice compared to what they're doing in some of these other countries. I mean, he's treated them relatively nicely compared to what I'm seeing is happening in some of the other countries. And on those countries, we're not doing anything. So they figured he's an unpopular guy. Let's go after him. And frankly, his oil, from the standpoint of oil and even the standpoint of importance, isn't as important, as you very well know, as some of the other countries that you're talking about. But ask yourself, China gets its oil from Libya. They're the largest customer. Why aren't they involved? Why is the United States footing a bill of over $1 billion so far, and China's not involved? And why isn't Saudi Arabia and the so-called Arab League, who, by the way, is now gone, we don't hear from them anymore, why isn't the Arab League that got us to do this, why aren't they paying us for this?
What is your theory, that we got sort of tricked into doing this by those other entities, or we foolishly went into it? Or, I mean, what is your theory as to why we ended up there? There must have been
I think the all-time classic is where France, the great French military power, that France led us into war, and they wanted to be first. And it was interesting. Their planes went over first, and their planes hit first, but they haven't been too involved since then. So in other words, they're getting some of the credit, if you call it credit, and here we are, and we're footing the bill. And we're the only ones that can really do the job, because we truly have a great military, and we should make it even greater, because we need a great military with the world imploding as it is. But just ask yourself, why isn't China paying? Why isn't Saudi Arabia paying? Why aren't these? And this is what's wrong with our country, because we have people that truly have no clue as to what they're doing leading our country.
Donald, thank you. Always nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.